Your life doesn't change overnight. It changes in the small moments you show up for yourself. That's why we created Selfdom bundles. Each one includes a mix of our journals and your favorite Selfdom products to guide you, ground you, and bring you back to you. And right now they are all 20% off. Start your ritual today at selfdom.au. Welcome to Selfdom, beautiful humans. Selfdom is about creating a safe space for meaningful conversations around wellness, growth, and becoming the best version of you. I'm Dominica Lisa, your host, and I feel so grateful to be here. Today's episode is such a powerful and grounding conversation. I'm joined by Brooke Elliston, a breath educator, yoga teacher, author, and facilitator who is deeply passionate about helping people reconnect with their bodies and live with more awareness, presence, and ease. Brooke's journey began in a very different world. She originally worked as a lawyer until chronic stress and physical symptoms became a wake-up call that something needed to change. That moment led her into years of study across breathwork, yoga, movement, and nervous system education, and ultimately into the work she does today, teaching people how to truly listen to their breath and body rather than pushing through life on autopilot. In this conversation, we explore how stress shows up in the body, why breath is such a powerful tool for regulation and self-trust, and how slowing down can actually be the key to living a fuller, more aligned life. Welcome to Selfdom.
Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
She's walked in here with a beautiful belly.
A big belly.
She looks beautiful. And I'm just so excited for this conversation. Your energy is extremely calming. Do you get told that a lot?
I have been told that before. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just so like grounding and nice to be around. So I'm really excited for our conversation. But I want to start by taking it back. So you were living a high stress life, which really isn't your vibe right now. It's like complete opposite. Tell us a little bit about that Brooke. Take us back to her.
That Brooke was completely disconnected from her body, but had no idea that she was. And I actually really enjoyed being a lawyer. I enjoyed being in the corporate world until I didn't. But a lot of my identity was wrapped up in my intelligence. I think I'd spent so much time throughout high school working really hard, studying really hard. And when I got into law, my idea about who I was as a person was definitely connected to the role I had, the labels that I had. And within that, I was entirely living up in my head and driven by all of these ideas about success that came from a very intellect-driven place.
Did you ever have any things to calm your nervous system during that time, or you had zero awareness?
I remember my boss telling me I had all these debilitating symptoms towards the end of being a lawyer. I was losing sensation in my legs. I was getting rashes all over my body. I felt like I was choking, and I had no idea what was going on. I thought I was allergic to different foods. I had the pipes in my house checked. I had no idea. And I remember my boss saying to me when I finally ended up leaving the law, "Oh, we're losing our most chill person in the team." So I think my nature was calm on the outside, very anxious on the inside. And it was a shock to me to learn that I wasn't calm and that my body was trying to tell me all of these things that my mind wasn't getting the message on. And even if my mind did get the message, I don't think back then I would have been able to interpret what that meant. Because at the end, my body was essentially screaming at me, and I thought, what on earth is this? It never occurred to me, oh, this is happening because you're stressed.
So then how did you come to realize that there was another way of life, that life didn't have to be this hamster wheel energy of go, go, go?
I had this sense that I wanted to do something different. I remember sitting at work and Googling what I could import on Alibaba. Like, could I import electric bikes and make this a business? And could I do all these weird, wild things? So I had a deep knowing of, okay, I need to change something. I just didn't know what that looked like. And it really got to a point when my body forced it upon me because my legs completely gave way one day and I ended up in the emergency room. And that was one of the scariest nights of my life. I had all the different tests that, you would expect, but I couldn't walk in a straight line. I couldn't answer basic questions about myself. And the next day, a neurologist told me that it was all caused by the way that I was breathing. And I was perpetually over-breathing, so chronic hyperventilation, which was essentially inhibiting circulation to my fingers, to my hands and legs. And he recommended that I go and see a therapist. The therapist spent the first session teaching me to take a breath. And it actually took me 3 weeks to get a breath out of my chest because even though I had never noticed it before, and I don't think anyone else would have, it wasn't so obvious that you would notice if I was doing it right next to you. But every time I tried to take a deep breath, I would kind of sniff or hiccup into my chest. So she recommended that I start yoga as a hobby.
Wow. I just need to say, you rarely hear of the medical system encouraging you to do yoga or breath work and even telling you that it could be a symptom of the breath. Like, I'm in shock in the best way possible.
Yeah, I think I was really lucky to get a therapist. I mean, more and more therapists now are starting to pair what they do with breath work, I'm finding. But I agree with you. It was lucky.
Yeah, so then I want to go back to still when you were a lawyer. Were you doing any sort of physical exercise or, wellness things at the time?
Yeah, I was doing so much. Like, I always considered myself to be a really healthy person.
Like ticking the checklist of healthy
Ticking the
things.
checklist, yeah. And funny now, well, it's probably not a coincidence, but a lot of the clients that I have mirror these same patterns. And they come to me and they say, I'm really healthy. I exercise well, I eat really well, and I have all these practices that I'm really disciplined at. But something is off. Maybe there's heart issues. Maybe there's sleep issues. Maybe my body is sending me signals and I just can't figure it out. So for me, the form of regulation was exercise. I love to move. If I didn't exercise in a day, I would feel so irritated and unable to sit still. And I just push myself in productivity and doing until essentially my body said, stop.
And I think what I'm gauging from this is that the breath work and the yoga and that slower intentional movement was the missing puzzle to your equilibrium and your whole body health. And so you get this advice to focus on yoga and breath work. You leave the law firm at this point.
Yeah.
What's the next phase? How do you rebuild your life, I guess, when your identity, as you said, was taken away from you?
That's a great question because I did feel like there was a total breakdown in identity. Who am I now without this lawyer label? And people would constantly ask me at that time, when I first did my yoga teacher training, I'd never taught a yoga class and I quit my law job. And people would say things like, so are you just a yoga teacher now? Is that all you do? And it really affected me because I was trying to figure out who I was. And I don't think I had some deeper sense of self-worth that wasn't tied to a label, that wasn't tied to an external role. So it was a really slow process of connection to self. I went to a school in Thailand. That was a very scary step because the form of yoga that they did there was more energetic. So on the first day, we had our hands up in the air and we were supposed to hold this one position for 10 minutes and feel the cosmic energy descending down our fingertips. And I remember thinking, someone give me a fork and put it in my eye. Like, how am I going to be here for 10 minutes and do this consistently for months on end? So I would say the journey from where I was, which was so activated and so highly strung, but like a fish in water, that feels familiar. You can't even tell that you're that stressed, to coming down was a really slow and gradual process.
Yeah. So what was this Thailand trip you went on?
There's an esoteric tantric yoga school over there, and a friend had told me about it. I actually went to Mexico and was traveling after I left law. And I met a friend. There was a school in Thailand, a school in Mexico. I met a friend who had spent some time there, and he told me about all these magic things that happened there. And I was very intrigued. And I remember meeting some of the people that were at the Mexico branch of the school and actually thinking, these people are a little bit off to me because they were so happy and so full of energy and full of joy and in their bodies, I guess. It just exuding this joyfulness that from where I was at that point in time felt suspicious to me.
Yeah.
Which is so funny to look back on. So yeah, my friend, he didn't actually tell me too much about the school. He just said, once you go there, there's no going back. You can't unsee whatever you see in this school. And honestly, he was right. I remember the first day going to the campus and one of the teachers walked up to me and it felt like being x-rayed. That's the only way I can describe it. I thought, I don't know what just happened, but he saw into my soul. And the practices over the next few months allowed me to experience things that I'd never experienced before, states of ecstatic joy, states of proper rest, states of having too much energy and not knowing what to do with it, not knowing how to sleep. So I think I left after that first 3 months and just thought, wow, I see the world differently now, and I know that there's more out there than what my eyes can see.
And do you remember that first time you felt your body just go,
That's a great question. I don't think I have. I do remember states of being in meditation and in the pranayama practices and thinking, wow, this is really enjoyable. Whereas when I first had started those practices, especially the meditation, I would fall asleep every time. I think I had such a chronic sleep debt.
Yeah.
And my head would keep bobbing forwards and then I'd wake up again. And I remember one time a friend asking me, what's happening? Are you having these incredible experiences in your meditation? Because I guess it looked I was doing this. I said, no, I just can't stay awake. So I guess having some experiences in meditation and in the breathing, because we would do them for a 1 hour sitting at a time, and feeling they were genuinely enjoyable. It was a big shift for me and a big change from when I first got there and thought, how am I going to do any of this where it doesn't involve intense movement and exercise?
Yeah. So you was talking about how your breath was like this, what did you call it? Hyperventilating breath.
Yeah.
When or what modalities helped you get out of that fight or flight? What were the things that really pushed the needle and then you thought, okay, I'm actually going to teach this. I actually want to share this.
The first step was coming into my body, which the yoga practice gave me, connecting to my body. And when I first started yoga, I was doing power yoga, which was a great place to meet me where I was because it still had that exertion and dynamic quality. And I think if I'd gone too quickly into something too calming and something too chill, I would have walked straight back out the door again. So it was a practice of connecting to sensation and connecting to my body at first, and something that met me in the state that I was at. And then experiencing some of the energetic, the visceral, tangible movement of prana that hooked me in. And later on, I thought, there's a part of my brain that really wants to understand the science, because yoga can be very much like practice for an infinite amount of time and don't worry about where you're going or where you get to. Whereas when you delve into the science, it gives you, this is where you are. If you want to get here, these are the steps you take and these are the metrics that you can track. So the science, when I thought to myself, okay, I've had enough of the energetic side of things, fueled me in a different way. It gave me a different sense of, these are the things that I need to do to really get to where I want to go, versus when I was just doing an energetic style of yoga practice, there were still plenty of times when I thought, I don't know why this is so uncomfortable or so hard for me, especially in the breath practices. We would do these strong, intense breath holds, and I still didn't know why it was easy for some person, and for me, it was very challenging.
So when you dived into the science of it all, which is amazing because I think the skeptics need the science, what's some of the findings you found when it comes to the power of breath work, I guess, with illness, stress, longevity?
The breath is such a great output of the nervous system, meaning our nervous system is reading our sleep quality, is reading our repair, how much movement, how much repair we've had, how much emotional, mental load there is. And based on these internal impacts, including our environment as well, our nervous system mirrors the state through the breath. So when we look at the breath, a lot of the times we're thinking, how do I change my breath to feel calm? Or how do I change my breathing to have more energy? But when we just look at the breath as it is, it gives us a window into what's happening in the nervous system. And I think exploring and understanding nervous system science gives us a really clear understanding of where is my physiology at right now? Why is my nervous system in this state? Why is my nervous system in a chronically activated state? And for many of us, it's been conditioned that way. And our nervous system runs on prediction, not just on willpower. So if we have a certain level of activation, there might be a learning tied to that, meaning my nervous system learns that this state means X, Y, Z. And my nervous system learns that when I feel activated, I have to do more, I have to be more, I have to push more, I have to stay productive. And that equals you are safe. versus your nervous system has learnt that you can be activated and stressed. We need stress to get us mobilized and to get us doing things. And I'm safe there. And I'm also safe to rest. So for me, the science gave me a really clear understanding of what the nervous system and your body in general is trying to tell you, and how that allows breath work and breathing patterns to be personalized.
So what are some of your favorite breathwork methods that you can do every single day to calm your nervous system? Because we're really seeing nervous system regulation as this buzzword at the moment, which I'm not mad about. I think it's great that that is a hot topic right now, but how can we actually put that into action?
One of the best ways is, I think, as a starting point for most people, having some breath awareness before even jumping into a technique. Because our inhale and exhale are always already giving us information about the nervous system. So you might have heard, or many people are familiar with the idea that the inhale corresponds more to our sympathetic nervous system and our exhale corresponds to our parasympathetic nervous system, which is why so many of the calming techniques encourage extended exhalation or slowing down our exhalation. And this idea that the inhale and the exhale impact our heart is called RSA, respiratory sinus arrhythmia. And it's a good thing that our heart rate slightly speeds up and slightly slows down with our breathing, varies with our breathing. What we can look to as a day-to-day marker of where we're sitting is, what is the quality of my exhale? Because when we're in a more upregulated, aroused state, oftentimes the exhale will be clipped or shortened, and people will find that I need to inhale a lot and my exhale is really short and sharp. And simply extending the exhale can sometimes perpetuate the dysregulation, versus if I start instead with breath awareness, can I allow the exhale? I call it exhale allowing. Can I allow? So I'm stepping out of the control and the pushing, the forcing, even on the exhale, and letting things be.
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful advice, because often it's just getting in tune with your own breath. And if you would have been in tune with your own breath when you were a lawyer, you would have realized that your breath was short. And it's like a dog panting after the park. A dog panting after the park isn't how you want your breath to be all the time. It's going to give you this fight or flight response, rather than when you're just a relaxed state and you're in that rest and digest and you've got that calm exhale. So I think that's really good advice. A breath that I really love is box breathing, and I think we see it a lot of the time. I find it calms my nervous system pretty instantly. I do it in bed, just like through my nose, and a few rounds I'm out. What do you think can help with insomnia or sleep issues?
That's a great question. Again, depending on where a person is at, I might even start with a yoga nidra or a non-sleep deep rest as a practice of getting in touch with the body first. So
what is a yoga nidra for everyone listening?
So it is a yogic practice, so that because it comes from yoga as a practice, there are deeper spiritual intentions which are about cultivating awareness in the deeper states of our consciousness. But the non-sleep deep rest equivalent is essentially finding this place where I'm not asleep, but I'm deeply relaxed. And the research has shown us that there are huge benefits to entering this state where we can relax deeply without dropping fully into sleep, almost as if you're surfing the state between awake and full unconscious sleep. And the body can do a lot of deep repair work there. But the reason that I love it so much as the creme de la creme of all practices is that mind-body connection. So a lot of yoga nidras, a lot of non-sleep deep rest include a body scan.
I love a body scan.
It's so good. And just that practice of, it's easy to think I'm feeling a certain part of my body. It can be a different thing to genuinely feeling a part of my body. So with practice over time, we can develop the capacity to really connect to our whole body and have more of an embodied experience throughout our day-to-day, which is already going to have such a great impact on our nervous system tone, the way that our nervous system is functioning throughout the day, and allow us to pick up more quickly when we are getting, our muscle tone is increasing and we're starting to move faster and we're in that real forward leaning, doing. Other than that, I love a simple cadence breathing. For most people, it's pretty accessible. Inhale for 3, exhale for 6 as a starting point. And as your body feels capable, you can extend to 4 in, 8 out. It's a beautiful practice as a wind down practice before bed too.
Yeah, we did a yoga nidra at the Wanderlust Festival.
Yeah.
And I can't remember her name, but she was really well known. She was from the US and she'd come down for this festival. I fell asleep. It was a real rest. I couldn't believe it. It was within 3 minutes. I was out.
Oh, it's so good.
It's the best.
Yeah.
I love it. And how do you feel? Because if your clients fall asleep, that means they needed the rest, right? Or do you encourage them to try not to sleep?
It really depends on the person. Some clients, I encourage them to stay awake, and other clients, I say it's fine. You need the rest and go for it. I like to do yoga nidra in the middle of the day.
Wow.
Because our nervous system learns in patterns. And if we are at the peak of our day, when we might expect that the nervous system is at the peak of arousal, the sun is the highest part of the sky, that's the peak of activation. What I want to train and teach my nervous system is that, like a dog, dogs are full of energy and then they can drop down and completely rest. And then they can come back up again and they can drop down and completely rest. For me, that's nervous system resilience. We talk about resilience a lot as if it has to do with our output, our capacity for performance all the time. But for me, real resilience is developing this capacity for, I can be at the peak of activation and then I can drop down and be so relaxed and so calm that there's a wider window of tolerance for my nervous system.
Yeah. I want to start talking about the people who are listening who have a high stress job, and what are the ways that they can incorporate breath work or incorporate just moments of rest throughout their day if they're in that corporate setting?
Great question. Starting with small, tolerable windows of practice, whether it is a yoga nidra or NSDR, if you can sneak off into a room in your office.
Go in the cubicle with the toilet.
Yeah.
If you have to.
There's so many great guided practices on YouTube that are free that you can just put on and start with 10 minutes. And the idea with any practice, I think the reason that people might try it for a little bit and then feel like I'm ditching that, it didn't really work, is because they think that they're chasing the calm. Well, I needed to feel calm straight away. But for me, that's not the idea of success. And what I teach is that in those moments when you do a breath practice, like the cadence breathing or like a yoga nidra, and you have the connection to your body and the feedback of, wow, my body's going like this, and it's not changing, just that awareness is everything. Because usually when my body tells me this, what do? I work harder, I get more flustered, I go faster. And so I stay upregulated all day long until I crash out at night. But when you sit there and you don't do the behavior that normally you do to regulate yourself, you create a prediction error. And what that means is that you have to update your model of learning. And the update when you don't move, when you don't react, and when you don't keep yourself busy is that I can be still and I am okay. So I'm really training my nervous system to trust the safety of stillness again, which so many of us need, especially people in high stress jobs. They don't trust the safety of stillness at a physiological level.
Yeah, it's kind of that idea of when you have 1 second in between a meeting, you go on your phone and doom scroll because you don't want to be in that stillness. And I think we're all so guilty of it. And it's a good reminder that when you have that 5 minutes between Zoom calls, just sit there in stillness. There's always a moment you can find stillness in your day. And I think it's a really good reminder because a lot of us are really aiming to achieve our goals and achieve and achieve and achieve. But one thing that you're really talking about is that to actually achieve, you do need to step back and you do need to slow down because otherwise you'll either get really sick, as you did, or you won't feel the joy when you achieve the success.
Absolutely.
One thing I thought of as well is I'd love to talk about your own experience with success because you were in this high drive lifestyle being a lawyer and now you've written a book. So you've had success in different degrees. So what has been your experience with success?
I think moving from law to teaching about movement and the body and the breath, my idea of success has moved more away from being externally extrinsic motivation to intrinsic motivation. And outwardly, my idea of success on the surface, if I was to tell you things that are important to me, it might seem like not that much has changed. I still value money, for example. I still want to earn lots of money. And the driver for that, though, is very different. I'm not just climbing a ladder for a role or for someone to tell me that I'm smart or I did well. The motivation now is intrinsic, meaning how do I want to feel? And the reason that I use money as an example, I think people can relate to that. But I want to have a level of freedom where if I want to take my family out, I can. If I want to do something enjoyable with my friends, I can, and it doesn't cause me stress. But it comes down to now what I'm really motivated by is how do I want to feel? And when I was a lawyer, I had no sense of how I was genuinely feeling. It was always just, well, you need to keep going. You need to push harder. And that was the compulsion more than a connection.
Yeah, I think it's really valuable because your definition of success changed. And obviously you are going strength to strength in your career. We were talking offline about how you have an online service now. You can help hundreds of people around the world, I'm sure, with becoming breathwork practitioners. And so when you're striving to help as many people as you can, that also links to, a financial success. And I think it's really nice because I have many guests on this podcast and women especially have this weird connection with money. They don't like talking about money. They think talking about money is ugly. However, exactly how you said, if you want to take your family out for a beautiful meal or even go on a holiday, you need financial abundance. And when you do something you love, you really can achieve both at the same time. So your book is officially live. Can you chat to us about it?
Yes, I'm so excited. It's called the Breath Reset Plan. It really is a simple way of looking at lots of these things that we've been talking about. So I feel that a lot of the time in the wellness industry, and even within the context of a yoga class, breath can be oversimplified as do this technique and you will feel a certain way. And that's not how it works. It really depends on the individual in front of you. Where is a person's baseline? Where's the starting point? What is the nervous system? And obviously, we're not just walking nervous systems. We have a lifetime of stories and histories and things that shape the person that we are. So the book is a culmination of respiratory physiology, of nervous system science, and a blend of ancient wisdom told through stories that I've been through my own personal experience to give people an understanding of where might I be at, and therefore how can I personalize a plan for myself using different practices, breath techniques, body-based practices that is tailored to me, so I can guarantee that I'm going to get the outcome that I want to get versus I'm imposing a technique on top of a body and rote learning what the outcome is going to be. So it's really a plan for personalizing your own practice depending on where you are at. And I think one of the things that I do well, and I've been told I do well, is to take complex ideas and to make them digestible and to simplify them. So to give you an insight into the science and to help you digest it and implement it in a practical way so you can get long-term change. So you're not just thinking about how do I want to change in this moment, but how do I create lasting, sustainable change in my life in a way that really touches at who I am at the core.
I think it's amazing to have a book that still allows for people to find what works for them uniquely. Because I think sometimes with books, it's like it's a blanket.
Yeah.
But for you, it was so important that they had this authentic take on what breathwork can be for them. And what I love about your journey as well is that your story is relatable to a lot of people. I think a lot of people see people in the health space and they think, oh, well, you just don't understand what it's like to have a high stress job and a family. And you're like, I do.
Yes.
You're like, I'm about to have my second baby and I worked in a law firm. So I think it's incredible. We've had another breathwork coach on the podcast, Rory. Do you know Rory?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
And you know, his thing is for performance for men. And I think it's so nice because there's different practitioners for what you need in your life and for what you want in your life. And I'm so excited to get my hands on the book and to read it and to create my own unique plan. And I'm sure the girls are going to be super excited. But before you let us know where we can find you, where we can find the book, the last question I always ask on the pod is, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I would tell my younger self, I was going to say do something to connect yourself with your body, but I always loved body. As a child, I was doing all of the, dancing and forms of connection. I think trust that everything you're going through is the perfect learning and enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Well, let everyone know where they can find you and where they can find the book.
So you can find me on Instagram at Brooke Elliston Breath, and I have links there to the book, and my website is brookeelliston.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me on the mic today. If you guys have anyone who needs to have assistance with calming their nervous system down, share this episode with them. And we will be back on Thursday to answer your questions. We'll see you there.